welcome to episode 65 of the Narrative Wargamer Podcast. I am Tony Rhodes, and tonight I'm joined once again by Mr. Daniel Foley.
Yep, I'm here, definitely was paying attention.
And Mr. Dave Parker.
Hello, I'm here too. Hello everybody. I'm also slightly distracted as I'm building models while we're recording, but everybody knows we do this, right?
But it is not just us tonight, because also joining us tonight, we have another special guest on the show. He spent the last year interviewing all of the big names in the Warhammer community, asking the important questions. And now, I'm pretty sure he could organise a pretty kick-ass rock climbing trip with everybody's favourite Domino's orders, ready and waiting. It's Ben from the First Rank Fire podcast.
Hi everyone. You've just definitely proved that you listen to the podcast, which is a nice start there. Yeah. Not sure about big names. Not sure about kick-ass questions. The party would be good though, and we would have good dominoes. So let's go with that.
Yeah. So welcome to the show, Ben. It's
Thank you.
It's good to have you on. It's fair to say that I think you've been very busy in the Warhammer community circle for the last year. For those who aren't aware or haven't previously found his fantastic podcast. First Rank Fire is basically a sort of interview format, isn't it? With an interview show with anyone and everyone from the community that you can get in touch with, and you've had some pretty big names on.
Yeah. So it's the kind of the idea behind it is that I followed a lot of people on Instagram for a long time, but it wasn't really that active. And sort of creating the podcast was about getting to know those people. Obviously, we see Instagram. Typically, we see the sort of painting or maybe the sort of top level YouTube personality or whatever, and a lot of it was about trying to understand the people behind that. Just getting to know what got them into the hobby, what got them into doing stuff like content creation, why are we all posting on Instagram, stuff like that. And yeah, it's been a bit of a mad year, bit of a mad year. Had some pretty crazy guests on from here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure getting to know so many people in the community. Like I say, it's been a bit of a wild year. Before that, I wasn't really that active in the sort of community, so it's been a bit of a change, but in the past year.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been listening since you started the show. So you're on episode. Well, by the time this is out, you'll have about 34 episodes.
34, yeah. That will be the last one of season 1, so it'll be the last one for a little while probably. But yeah, 34 episodes, but now every 2 weeks somehow I've managed to persuade somebody every 2 weeks to come onto the show and have a chat with me for some crazy reason.
You know you've made it when you can put your podcast into series and seasons. That's pretty impressive.
I mean,
back in series 1.
I mean, I've kind of called it that because I know that I want to come back and do some more, but I need to take it's definitely a forced break. Let's just put it that way. I'm having a second child, so taking a little bit of time off, and I didn't want to just sort of stop the podcast without saying anything, so I've decided to call it a season. So yeah, it's definitely me just making it up on the fly rather than it being anything important.
Still sounds cool.
Yeah, it's really good, and it'll give you plenty of time to line up some big names for season 2, I'm sure.
I've already got 4 or 5 on the list, and I've not even finished the season 1 yet. So yeah, it's definitely already getting there. But
yeah, it's been great listening. It's really interesting, I think, to hear so many of the different like origin stories, as it were, of people, like how they got into the hobby and how to say, you've done obviously 30 plus interviews now. There's probably realistically maybe about 3 or 4 main routes that people come in from. They actually have there's a lot of overlap in various, I suppose, hobby generations. I know for one myself, like the thing that really probably got me into it was the Battles for Middle Earth magazine series.
Battles for Middle Earth. Yeah. I've heard all about that many times now. Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, it was one of these things where I was already aware of Games Workshop. I already had the sort of young kid collection of random models. Like I've got 5 Plague Marines, and 1 Orc Warbiker, and a Space Marine attack bike, and stuff like that. But when the Lord of the Rings magazine came along, that was the first thing that sort of really let me understand actually what a collection of certain miniatures were, and like that there was a game and how to play it. Because again, I knew there was a game, for like Warhammer beforehand, but I was just making up rules as little kids would do.
Well, the internet didn't really exist, so this idea of an army, unless you got White Dwarf or something like that, or you went to Warhammer World where you could see it, that concept didn't exist really. I don't think.
Yeah, I remember I wanted to go learn to play the Lord of the Rings games properly in the Games Workshop stores because I knew obviously there was some in my like local region, and convinced my parents to start taking me to the Sunday beginners classes to learn how to play Lord of the Rings at the local Games Workshop. And then learning that and then being in the environment, being in the store, and obviously seeing, well, there's also Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 and so on. That's all then just branched my Games Workshop hobby, catalogue, as it were. But it's funny how that magazine series was the thing that sort of really got me to sit down with models and paints and brushes and actually sort of concentrate on trying to build something, from it all. So it's really interesting whenever I hear other people on your show talk about that same particular journey. And like, I was right there with them at the same time. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, there's some really major names that really wouldn't be in the hobby if it wasn't for that magazine series. So, yeah.
And then others as well, like I think Space Crusade is another one that often gets referenced.
Yeah, Space Crusade's another one, yeah. And then the other one is, I think it's only come once or twice, but then there's like the video games. So I guess you're starting to see then the younger generation who played stuff like Space Marine or Space Hulk or something like that. It's now video games are bringing them in. And I'm really looking forward to the next generation of guests who are going to be like the Amazon series brought them in.
Yeah.
You do really see that generational thing of you always know exactly when somebody came in because they picked up Middle-earth, they picked up this, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting hearing about people's like third renaissance into the hobby sort of scenarios, because the amount of times you hear the stories of people getting into it when they were younger or in their teens and then taking a break in their early 20s and then getting back into it as a more of an adult with adult money.
Yeah. Well, we've all done it. I'm the same. I played fantasy back when I was like 13, 14, and then so many times I took about a 15-year gap, and I played fantasy. I was a fantasy boy, orcs through and through. They were my thing, and then came back in, and it was 40k that I came back into. So it's been like a 15-year gap going into a completely different game. Didn't know anything about the lore, so it's been a really fun learning experience since the start of 8th. So maybe like, what's that, like 7 years ago now, 8 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to think that it's what 8th edition launched in mid 2017, I think it was.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Yeah, which is so weird to think because that was I've been playing the game sort of through and through because, funnily enough, I never really had that 20s break, but then that's only because I went to uni in Nottingham.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
yeah, that's cheating.
It is cheating. Yeah.
It's cheating. I mean, I didn't have that break either, but that's because I didn't have a life. So.
Well, for me, it was because
weirdly, it was my leg restore, but because I dropped out, I never pulled it back when I had money again. So it's only becoming an adult that gave me money and time to do it.
I went to university somewhere much harder to do it, in Mid Wales, in Aberystwyth, and we still found people playing Necromunda and Space Hulk and all those kind of things to keep us in the game.
Yeah,
so they're out there. If you listen to us and you haven't got, there are people out there that play. You can find them. It's easier today than it ever has been.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible how many people play the game that you just had no idea about.
Well, you know who turned up at Warhammer World today, gentlemen? Gary Oldman. Yeah, apparently. I don't know. This was on a I'd say a reputable YouTuber, but let's face it, the person he's a YouTuber. And there was a picture of Gary Oldman at Warhammer World today, which is quite an interesting one.
Now, are we sure it was Gary Oldman? Because Gary Oldman is the person that looks like everybody.
I mean, yeah, I could be. Again, it could be a load of rubbish. It's the internet, but I quite like the idea that Gary Oldman plays 40k. That would be. Yeah. It's like none of that Harry Potter malarkey. He's there for the old world, obviously.
Like I say, if anyone listening hasn't been and checked out Ben's podcast, I advise you do so. It's great. And I'd say one of the things that is great about it is it's pretty evergreen content. Like you say, if you want to go back and start listening from the beginning, like it's all interviews with, You've had various members of the Tabletop Tactics team on now.
Yeah, a few. So I've had like Fletch and Katie and Chefon from TT, chatted with Mini Wargamer Dave, Quipster. There's so many. Peachy was a wonderful guest. Yeah, I've had crazy guests on, and they're just kind of the key ones that sort of float to mind. But yeah, like Jake from Vanguard Tactics as well, and Mike, and yeah, it's been a weird one. There's some really cool people on there. There's loads of people that I really look up to in the hobby.
And honestly, a whole bunch of people that I've like since discovered because you've interviewed them. You know, like
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like people who are, there's so many like creators and good, you know, community members out there that sometimes just discovering them is like the hardest thing. You know? And your show is really good for that. So I think it's great.
I'm glad. Yeah, that was definitely sort of. It was never sort of the intention, because let's be honest, I'm smaller than all of them, so I'm being found by them more than the other way around. But yeah, it is nice to get that sort of range from everybody who, yeah, they've got. Look at Dave; he's got like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube or whatever it is, not something silly. All the way down to somebody who's got like 1,000 followers on Instagram. It doesn't matter. It's all about are they a fun person to chat to.
And you come on this one. Well done. With us. Great.
You're on episode 65. You're absolutely killing it in terms of content. It's good. Oh. Yeah.
Just wait till we get into the quiz questions, and then maybe you'll change.
You'll be regretting your decisions. It'll be.
Yeah, if I just disappear, it's just me closing the screen.
Yeah, so speaking of coming on shows, we're very grateful that Ben has decided to agree to subject himself to our lore quizzes.
I think you might be subjecting yourself to me doing lore, so yeah, good luck to all of you listening.
Yeah, so for those of you who perhaps this is the first time that you've come to one of our 40k Fun Facts episodes, it's a wild ride. So the premise of the show tonight is that we're going to be going through a lore quiz. All the questions are taken from the latest Crusade Pariah Nexus book. If you listened to recent episodes or watched a few videos on the YouTube channel, then you'll know that the Pariah Nexus has been sort of subject of a lot of our recent discussion and content, but one of the things we have yet to talk about is the lore contained in this book, and it is pretty wild. When the Imperium gets into conflicts with the Necrons, there's some pretty extreme things that go on. So the idea is that our three quizzes tonight have not read the lore in this book. They're not aware of what's coming, and instead I'm going to present a number of rounds with a number of questions, and every question has a multi-choice answer, and each of them has to try and determine or guess which is the correct answer, so which is the true 40k lore fact from amongst the true and false options. And yeah, it's going to be a guessing game of who knows or can guess their real 40k facts the best.
Oh no. It's just going to end really.
That's a no of everybody who's listened to this before. Has taken part. Chris has done them, and several of Dan's been involved. We don't have a good track record, do we?
No. And it usually there's going to be something that's going to set me off. So
yeah, there's usually something that sets Dan off on a laughing fit. So headphone users, be warned. But yeah, so to set the scene, as it were, a little bit, just to give you a little bit of information regarding the lore in here. The first sort of like quarter of the story, that's sort of presented as it is all about things going horribly wrong for a Imperial battle fleet that basically is sent to explore the Pariah Nexus, or the Nephilim anomaly, as the Imperium call it. So, if anyone unaware, after the emergence of the Great Rift and everything's basically going to hell in the Imperium, Gulliman's running around trying to organise everything again, put it all back together. It goes unnoticed for a while that there's an area of the galaxy in the Nephilim sector that basically no one's heard anything from for ages. And that in itself is suspicious when everything else is alarm bells and klaxons and sirens and everything else is just falling apart. So eventually, one of the Indomitus fleets gets dispatched to go investigate what's going on. And basically, when they get there, they pass through what they describe as this sort of like psychic veil, sort of like phenomenon thing. And basically, they move into a zone of the galaxy that's suffering from what they eventually coined the term of the stilling, which is basically, it's sort of like a big psychic nulling effect that's covering this whole region of space. So everybody is suffering from psychic dampening, suffering from this effect called the stilling, where basically it's starting to just soul deaden people, more or less just becoming sort of like brain dead, because they're just losing all animus and personality and the ability to just be motivated to do anything.
Been there.
Ultimately, yeah, right.
That's a standard workday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty. I mean, this is by Imperial standards, so you can imagine how bad it actually is. But like, technology is malfunctioning, warp drives don't work well, communication is practically impossible because like the astropaths can't communicate and so on. And basically, the first sort of quarter of this book is all about things just going really badly for this Imperial fleet, because as soon as they translate into the Nephilim sector, the fleets get scattered, they can't communicate, they eventually run into Necrons and getting ambushed and basically just having a really bad time of it. And ultimately, they manage to just about sort of rally on a particular world called Cherish, I think it is. And they sort of decide the best course of action they can do is to try and send out a beacon, like a warning message, basically a situation report to say it's all going horribly wrong, please send help back to the rest of the Imperium. And there's a few interesting personalities involved. There's Inquisitor Kyra Draxis, which is a Dragon Lady Inquisitor.
Right.
She's involved in the fleets. So is it Ephemeral Stern, the Demonifuge?
Yes.
She's there, and basically through her efforts as well is the survivors of this initial Indomitus fleet are able to pierce the veil and send out a big psychic warning back to Guilliman and back to the Imperium to sort of say, it's going really badly here.
Send help.
Yeah, send help.
They're all like, we know.
Yeah. And basically, once the warning beacon gets out, the eventual mobilization is headed up by Belisarius Cole, of all people. And basically,
he is a legend.
Well,
he's my favourite 40k character by far because he's nuts.
As is evidenced in this book.
Brilliant.
So yeah, basically, Guilliman dispatches Cole to bring in a reinforcement fleet, and basically he brings a massively Mechanicum focused fleet with him to basically now try and establish a beachhead into the Pariah Nexus, because they're a bit more forewarned about what's going on in there, so they're a bit more prepared when they go in. So, the first round of questions is simply called the Zone of Silence. This is relating a bit more to the actual ongoings and construction of the Pariah Nexus before Cole's fleet then arrived to sort of relieve Imperial force. By the Necrons, this was described as an unparalleled work of cosmic engineering. So it gives you a sense of the scale to which the Nexus is actually constructed. And basically, the way it works is there are all these Noctilith pylons, these Blackstone pylons, not randomly scattered, but in fact very precisely positioned all throughout this sector of space. And through the magical technologies of the Necrons, this nexus of pylons is what creates this essentially like psychic net, this sort of psychic dampening and separation between reality and the warp. So the first round, we've got a few questions on the construction and maintenance, as it were, of the Pariah Nexus and
Construction maintenance operation guide.
Well,
Is it the
Haynes
Haynes
operated
yeah,
training manual.
Haynes operating training manual.
See, this isn't even one of the questions.
Oh, sorry.
Set it up so well, Tony. That's what it is.
There you go. Well, it's interesting because obviously being a gaming supplement, this is not a Black Library novel, so it is still presenting the lore from the perspectives of players of those armies. So the Necrons aren't presented entirely as this mysterious and noble thing the Imperials are struggling to comprehend. It's also written from the point of view if you're a Necron player. It's just like, oh yeah, this is what the Silent King's up to, and this is how they built the thing they built. You know, and so it gives you a lot of insight into the Necrons side of things going on in the Pariah Nexus, and they're just sort of seeing the upstart Imperium trying to disrupt their plans.
We've all been there as well.
Yeah.
You've just made the Imperium sound like Scooby-Doo and the Mist. Would have got away with it too if it happened for you, Imperium. And there's like Belisarius Cool like scrounging around trying to look for his bastards somewhere.
Trying to make the world's largest sandwich to it.
Yeah.
Gets stolen by a rogue Tyranid that just comes running
Exactly. Yeah.
I was hungry.
through. Right. Question 1.
We got there.
Got there, well done.
Hold on.
During the construction of the Nephilim anomaly, the Necrons employed ancient technology to precisely position the network of Noctilith pylons throughout the Nephilim sector. Which of the following was one of those methods? Was it A, constructing lone pylons in deep space in the void between the stars? B, artificially phase-locking planets into sustained orbital alignments? Or C, translocating entire stellar systems to circle synthetic singularities positioned on galactic ley lines?
I'm going to go C because I didn't understand a word you just said in that last one.
Yeah, I want to go C as well because A, putting things in the middle of deep space, the Imperium can do that. It does that with Deathwatch fortresses, doesn't it? And I'm sure plenty of other things. B is, yes, changing planetary alignments, no, but the most ridiculous and large one, this is a 40k related game, right? It's got to be the most ridiculous and large one, transplanting whole solar systems to orbit artificial black stars, sounds like black holes, sounds like exactly the kind of thing Necrons will be up to.
I was going to go B. That was the route I was going to go down. Yeah, I was going to go slightly less mad. But
Well then.
I'll be different. Yeah, I'll go B.
You've kept your sanity, you will not be allowed in the Inquisition, Ben.
Well, I can tell you, Ben, that this is a perfect introduction to 40k lore because, of course, the biggest and most insane thing is true.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
You've not done this before, have you?
I had some faith in the writers on that one, and they let me down.
They've let you down. They've let you down.
I thought they'd start me off with not too crazy.
No, we're starting with basically translocating entire star systems just because they're not where the Necrons want them to be in space. That's a thing they do.
That seems legit.
Yeah. Then there's a description of their other ones that are literally just cast aside because they're in the way. So they're literally just like, this star system shouldn't be here. It's ruining the feng shui
The
of this
Necrons are
sector.
Vogon. So the Vogons want to build an interstellar bypass to Earth.
Instantly, that was where my head went to as well.
No, because now the other thing is, it's effectively like Necrons. What was that program in the 90s where Lawrence Llewellyn Bone would come in and reorganize your house? That, but on a galactic level. Changing rooms. That's it. Changing rooms.
Yeah.
Yep.
Changing star systems.
To be fair, he's probably got a similar haircut to the Silent King, so it's not.
I
really
reckon
away.
so. Yep.
Question 2. The pylons themselves varied in size, shape, and location, with some truly uniquely positioned throughout the galaxy. In the Sarkren system, one pylon was notable for what feature? Was it A, it was so large It was so large, it pierced an entire moon from pole to pole.
Don't family friendly podcast.
Carry on.
B. It was located atop a previously undiscovered Blackstone fortress. Or C. It was found at the centre of an ancient and abandoned citadel of Xenos design never before encountered by the Imperium.
Isn't that just another Blackstone fortress? Oh, this one
It's
isn't
still
a black. Yeah, it's just like, it's a different type of Xenos space starship that we didn't know. It's not a Blackstone fortress. Yeah, it's like, this is not a Blackstone fortress. This is a beige,
A Whitestone fortress.
A beige
White sand.
sandy castle.
This one specifically is planetside, the citadel of alien origin.
So I'm going to go boring here and go, I don't think it's the Blackstone Fortress one, because the Blackstone Fortress, from memory, is made out of Blackstone, which is the same thing as Noctilith. So why the hell would you have a Noctilith thing on a Blackstone Fortress when it is a giant piece of Blackstone?
Double denim's a thing, Dan.
Really fair argument. Yeah.
Oh, touche. Yeah. Yeah, but it was never fashionable in the 90s, and it's not fashionable now. So
The question is it fashionable in the 41st millennium?
Maybe, but I'm going with the first one not because of people's thinking for the reasons it is.
That's the reason I was going for it.
I just like the idea that there's a huge column of Blackstone going from a planet to a moon. Actually, no, that does sound that sounds even ridiculous. Anyway.
Right. Yeah, I see where you go with that, Dan. No.
No, is that not what you meant?
The pylon in this instance, the pylon isn't. It's not going from the planet to the moon. It's going through the centre of the moon, pole to pole.
See, that sounds more... I'm going with that because that actually sounds legitimately a bit more plausible, even for 40k.
So the whole centre of the moon is a pylon.
Yes, going through from pole to pole. Or, like I said, we have our denim on denim starship.
No.
Or we have our ancient alien citadel.
I'm not going to count that out because I know the Blackstone Fortress can kind of be here or there, but I know if you've listened to, I can't remember which one it is. One of the Eisenhorn books, they talk about like the construction of a Noctilith column and about the design of it. It has to be really, really specific. So maybe they needed to make it like a specific design. So I'm not going to count that, but I am going to go for the A as well. A centre of the moon.
I'm going for the double denim answer, Tony. Yes.
Say lovey. I'm going for A. I'm going for A.
I'm not going to go for C because of this idea of the fact that it's so ancient. Surely nothing's that much more ancient than the Necrons. So,
well, it's a Warpstone Citadel instead of a Blackstone Fortress. That's your option here, Ivan.
Well, I can tell you that it is A.
Yes!
It is A.
Yes, I've got one right, yes.
I've lost track already.
That's fine. One of these Blackstone pylons is so large it actually pierces an entire moon from pole to pole.
That's no moon.
Right. Question 3. In the Naidosh system, Votan hulls of the Greater Furian League had long traded with the neighbouring human systems. However, with distilling now affecting the inhabitants of the subsector, how did things change? Was it A, suffering from distilling, the League ends its trade agreements and departs the Naidosh system in an attempt to outrun the expanding veil of the anomaly? B, disgusted at how easily the humans succumb to distilling, they raid Imperial worlds, reasoning that the faltering humans' resources are now wasted on them. Or C, seemingly immune to distilling, the Ironkin members of the League rise to prominence and assume leadership of the holds, a rare occurrence in Votan society.
D, they just write it down in the grudge book and move on.
That's a grudging.
Never move on from the grudge book, though, right?
I like the idea that the robots take over.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea that the robots have risen up and gone, no, we are robots. We do all our own washing up. I don't know what robots do, but I quite like that idea.
Despite the fact they're fundamentally cloners, I mean, they do have a strong psychic sense within society, don't they, still? So I think they are likely to be suppressed by this kind of Necron effect.
Whereas the Iron Queen being AIs, they are, they're robots themselves.
Yeah.
So
Rise of the T-2000 in Votan society, absolutely.
I think they're grumpy old men, and that humans weren't worth it, and just took everything they could get and scarpered. So
You've seen the way I wear my facial hair, right?
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Dave, I've been meaning to ask you this about the Votan, right? So, because they're technically from the north, do you think their AI is not called AI, it's called AUPS?
AUPS. Yeah, it could be, if it goes wrong.
Yeah, B for me. They've got grumpy. They've got so annoyed at these humans being idiots that they've just nicked everything that they've can. That sounds like the Votan to me.
It's a reasonable point. That's why I can't agree with it, because it's a podcast.
It's just fair. I'm being too reasonable again. I've definitely got this wrong. What's the most insane thing? Yeah.
Right, I'm going robot uprising.
Yeah.
I'm going for grumpy old Votan.
I can tell you that the robots did not uprise. In fact, they were just being grumpy old men. And they decided to raid the human settlements.
Of course they are. It's Votan. They don't care.
They're like, look at these pathetic humans being affected by the stilling. We'll take their stuff now because it's wasted on them.
I mean, they form Tyranids, don't they? So, sure, why not?
Question 4. Not all Necron nobles from across the dynasties were unified in enacting the Silent King's grand plan within the Nephilim sector. Trazan the Infinite instead followed his own agenda as always. Which of the following acts was Trazan responsible?
I don't know, but it's going to be crazy.
Can the answer be all three? Can I already guess that?
Ooh, we'll see. Option A. He stole one of the pylons for his private collection, replacing it with a fake one.
He definitely did that.
Yeah, he did that.
Inadvertently weakening the effects of the stilling over the neighbouring systems. B. He alerted an Imperial fleet to the presence of hidden Necron forces on a nearby world, and then raided the Necron vaults during the ensuing confusion.
He probably did that as well.
Yeah.
That's the plot of the Thomas Crown affair, isn't it?
Or C. He lured a rogue trader and his vessel into the anomaly so he could acquire his pet albino Petra squirrel whilst they were subdued by the stilling.
That one!
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that does sound plausible, but I've also got to think that Trazan's already got an albino terror squirrel.
Yeah, but he needs one as a backup just in case.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's...
See, that
exactly.
thinking leads to the way my hobby room is.
Yeah. I don't think it's A, because I don't see why he'd replace it. That's not within Trazan's character. It'd definitely steal it, but not replace it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be C. That sounds insane. So yeah, definitely.
Yep.
No, I think I would go for B. I think that sounds quite credible. He'd try and distract so that he could acquire artifacts that he wanted.
Necron artifacts from fellow Necron lords.
Yeah.
He's got a history of it, so it doesn't surprise me.
I mean, I want to say all three.
Equal opportunities, if anything.
Well, I could tell you that while Patera squirrels are indeed a fascinating part of 40k lore, I'm unsure if there are albino ones or not, because I made that up.
Oh.
There is now.
It will be in my next road trader game.
If there isn't, there should be.
But Dave, you are correct. He actually alerted Imperials to Necron presences so that he could then raid the Necron vaults of his fellow Dynasty lords.
It just matches. I mean, he is the character in all 40k that sort of embodies those. At least the collector aspect of us. They literally took a Warhammer fan and put them in the universe. Right?
Yeah.
And then finally, for the last question of the first round, question 5. Orokin the Diviner was also travelling across the Nephilim sector, but what was his motivation for doing so? Was it A, to steal the same artifacts from Trezan that he had just stolen from the Silent King?
Yes. That's plausible.
He's done it many times again.
B, he had been summoned by his dynasty's pharaoh, Imotekh the Stormlord, for reasons unknown. Or C, he was convinced an approaching calamity would originate here, and he sought to prevent its occurrence.
I'm not sure he cares that much, does he?
He was crossing the road because the chicken also crossed the road.
He's a diviner.
Orokin was crossing the road because the chicken was going to cross the road later.
He likes to do things first. That is his thing, yeah.
I mean, he divines things. It's... I don't know, I think...
It feels a bit mundane that he just had a prophecy, though. It's a little bit Eldar, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think he'd care either. Unless it was a catastrophe that bothered him and his particular workings. I don't think he'd be like, yeah, screw it. Just let them all go crazy and die.
Is he the Stormlord's diviner, though? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, he is
Orokin is from the
dynasty.
Sartek dynasty, yeah. He's
Right,
the head astrologer of the Sartek.
But
I'm not sure he ever particularly works with them, though, all that much.
No, he kind of does his own thing, but like technically he is a member of the Sartek dynasty.
I mean, don't all Necron characters just do their own thing? That's kind of their deal, isn't it? Just we could actually conquer the universe if we could get around to it.
That's too boring, too easy.
But, I mean, they already did that and then went back into their metal bodies. But I think this is the source book where it's set it up so you can play your games, right? So a little bit of mystery could be something that's in there. So he's there for reasons unknown, gives you a hook to put your own games in there. I think there might be a little. I've not read it yet. I hope to soon, but I have a feeling that it could be one of those open-ended hooks that they sometimes put in.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard a rumour that Imotekh was going against the Silent King. Apparently the Necrons are kind of dividing a little bit as to whether or not they want to go away from being all metal, and it sounds like Imotekh wants to remain metal, so maybe...
Always metal.
Yeah, but also just screwing over Trezan. Like, that is his thing. That is, like, he has to do it.
All right, I'm gonna go for he was divining. I think he was doing his job. He was about the only Necron doing his job.
So is that convinced there's a calamity coming and he's trying to stop it?
Yep. I'm going with that.
I think Dave's got a good shout, and I'm going to go for the one with the Imotekh. So was that B?
Yeah, summoned by the Stormlord. Is that what you're going for as well, Dave?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that he was in fact convinced an approaching calamity is going to originate in the Pariah Nexus.
Oh.
Right.
He was doing his job.
Mundane like a farce here. That's weird.
How boring. Yeah.
Well, you see, you'll be pleased to know the reason why he's convinced there's a calamity is because any time he tries to divine anything important in the Pariah Nexus or about it, his predictions and divinations all go horribly wrong and are all being warped, and he cannot predict anything. So he's convinced there's something that's obscuring his abilities there.
Maybe
So
he's
it
just
is
not...
affecting him.
That'd be the backstone pylons, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's just not very good at his job.
He's shown
Well,
a
that's the
history
thing.
of that as well. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing though, is that like he's so good as a diviner that for him to be constantly wrong about stuff is actually the anomaly, if that makes sense. Like that's why it's throwing him off, that like his predictions and everything are just not coming true when it comes to anything involving the Pariah Nexus.
Are you suggesting that the Peter principle applies to Necron Lords? Rise to your level of incompetence.
Speaking of levels of incompetence, round 2. This is simply
Hang
entitled.
That was
Hang
round
on.
one. Okay.
You're not wrong, but
No,
yeah.
I know, but still a bit harsh.
No. Round two is entitled Call's Decree. Because now,
yeah.
So that obviously the Pariah Nexus is doing its thing and making a bad time for anyone and everyone in it, even to some extent the Necrons, because they're now having to deal with all these issues that the Imperium is now causing them. Because the lesser races won't just fall in line and do as they're told. So Call is dispatched with his grand Indomitus fleet force. He is at the head of Battle Hephaestus,
Because Hephaestus was the Greek god of making stuff, wasn't he?
That'll probably be it then. So
Yeah.
Is it Hephaestus? Do we think?
I have no idea.
This could be a name game round in itself. Basically, Cole has amassed this large Indomitus fleet consisting of a large amount of Mechanicus forces, and he's been sent in to establish a beachhead in the Pariah Nexus so that Gulliman can eventually show up with more Imperial forces to sort it all out. Forewarned by the psychic beacon that had been sent from the previous ill-fated Indomitus fleets, they're aware that basically there's going to be issues with navigating, communicating, using warp drives. Everyone's going to be under the this nullifying effect of distilling, and it's going to be a bad time. So Cole gathers the fleet before they're sort of going to cross the border, as it were, through the Veil, and they're preparing for a bad time. So, question 6. Forewarned of the negative effects of the anomaly on warp drives, the tech priests of battle group Hephaestus attempted many and varied solutions to empower the warp engines of the fleet. Which of the following was one such attempt?
This is going to be good.
Was this a failed attempt or a successful attempt?
That's what you're going to have to guess.
Can we all be aware that in my head, the voice that plays when Belisarius Call is talking is Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future? That's how he sounds. And if you have that when you're listening to any of the audiobook or reading any of the audiobooks, he's even cooler.
I have a less cool voice that's in my head when Call is in that context. Wallace from Wallace and Gromit.
You've ruined him
Fucking
now,
John
Dave.
Spalcom,
You've ruined him now for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The wrong bionics legs, Gulliman.
I think we could solve this with more crackers. You started, Dan.
You made him sound rubbish. He sounds awesome as Christopher Lloyd, and now he's like, "Oh, I'm never going to be able to listen to him again."
You're welcome. So, back to ingenious tech priests trying to come up with ways to boost their warp engines on their ships. Which of the following was one such attempt? Was it option A, wiring sigil-scribed cages of psychers into the ship's capacitor banks as living batteries?
I mean, that's standard fare for Mechanicus.
Yeah. It's an Imperium, never mind Mechanicus.
Yeah. That's what Gellerfields are.
Well, that's where we're going, Dave. Or is it B, reverse engineering localized Geller fields to boost the warp energies flowing through the warp drives? Or
You mean
C,
reversing the polarity? Oh, excellent!
Or C, using a mind impulse unit to link the consciousness of a ship's reluctant navigator directly to its overcharged warp drive?
That sounds pretty insane. I think I'm going to go down that one. Let's just destroy somebody's brain.
I'm gonna Doctor Who this, and I'm gonna go with reversing the polarity.
I think that's too clever for the Mechanicus. As an engineer, having seen what the Mechanicus do, I'm not sure they understand the concept of reverse engineering anymore.
But it's Belisarius. Cool. He doesn't care. He's just
like 12
he could
personalities in there.
he'd wire a toaster and a chinchilla together just to see what happened.
Yeah, but he wouldn't know how the toaster works because he wouldn't be able to reverse engineer it.
No, but there'd be like chaos.
I'm pretty sure Cole would
great.
find a way of putting toast in a toaster and have it come out as bread. He'd be capable of that.
Yeah, probably.
Is your fundamental assertion, Dan, that one of his 12 personalities is a pineapple pen guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, what
Yeah,
we're
I
going
like
with
the
then?
idea of the reverse polarity of a psyche, but I think Ben may be right with just the madness of wiring the brain of the navigator straight into the warp engine. But let me go for the other option. Let me go for they just put more dead psychers around the outside of the stronger skeleton.
just more.
Just strap psychers to the outside of the hull like some kind of rampage fleet.
Very orky.
Yeah,
I mean, I always think, is it not an episode of Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Morty Fields generator.
The Morty field generator, yeah.
Oh.
Is that what you're going for then, Ben?
Yeah, I think we've got a range of 3 answers. this
Yeah,
time.
answers.
So we've got Ben going for wiring in a load of Mortys. We've got Dan reversing the polarity with his sonic screwdriver, and
Yep.
Dave going for wiring the navigator directly into the warp drive.
No, other
No,
way around.
other way. Me and Ben are the other way around.
Yeah.
I'm covering the hull with more.
Oh,
psychers.
you're covering
Right.
the Mortys.
And I'm
Right.
blowing somebody's mind up.
I mean, not for the purposes of the quiz. I imagine the in-universe answer would probably be all 3. I imagine all the tech priests have probably tried all these. But
absolutely.
the one referenced in the lore in the book is wiring a bunch of psychers to the capacitor banks to
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Put
Yeah.
more psychers in.
It works on the Golden Throne.
pretty much. Right. Question 7. Before entering the anomaly, Belisarius Cole made the Noctilift Decree, his instructions to Battle Group Hephaestus, and how to enact them upon arriving in the Nephilim sector, on the assumption that they would all then struggle to communicate once getting there. So they all had a preset set of
I've
instructions.
got a
on what
Noctilus
to do.
gate in the background over there.
How were his commands delivered to the fleet? Was it A? They were broadcast across every Vox unit and vid screen throughout the fleet as a 12-hour long command directive overview and strategic analysis sermon.
You should see the release notes for my software.
Was it B? Copies were inscribed as an 8-volume manuscript and gene-locked to each of the individual fleet commanders. Or C? They were compressed into a fractal data packet and speared directly into the consciousness of the fleet's tech priests.
That one.
That one.
Yeah, I'm going that one.
Yeah.
I'm tempted by that one, but this is 40k. It would be more insane to have whatever he said, 8 or 12 volumes of
8 books.
transcribed, gene locked to the, just great big massive books like when you go and play 40k.
That's so true.
We're talking-
that's
no, you
any
know-
average 40k player.
Yeah. They are effectively Haynes manuals again, though, aren't they? They're
No. What they are is, when somebody likes 40k, but it's not quite right for them, so they write a whole new copy of the rules for themselves.
we don't know anyone like that at all, don't know.
That's what Cole is like.
So is that 2 picks for compressed data packets speared into consciousness and 1 for 8-volume manuscript?
All the countries.
I love the idea of just spearing something into somebody, so yeah, I can't move away from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were right with the moon when they did that with the moon.
Yeah.
Well, you were also right now, because that is exactly what Cole did. It was speared directly into the consciousness of his tech priests throughout the fleet.
They deserved it.
Question 8. As part of the Noctilith decree, Cole instructed the majority of the fleet would find and secure vast quantities of Noctilith. What was his proposed use for the Blackstone? So, when the fleets were dispatched to get into the Pariah Nexus, the idea was that about a third of them would go looking for Imperial survivors and then regroup with them and protect them, and sort of establish a defensive position. The other 2/3 were to basically, as a priority, go out and find an Noctilith and start harvesting.
I mean, you're going to use that to make the survivors into psychers so you can reinforce the shield some more.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's a third are going to look.
I mean, it's kind of obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. And funnily enough, the way he divvies it up as well is the majority of non-Mechanicum ships and personnel are in the go defend the Imperials, and the majority of the Mechanicum ships are the go find Noctilith ships. So, once they get all this Blackstone, what was Cole's proposed use for it all? Was it A, to construct devices designed to combat the effects of distilling? B, to construct weapons capable of preventing Necrons from phasing back to Tomb Worlds upon death? Or C, to construct devices capable of breaching the webway and then using them to traverse the anomaly instead of relying on warp drives?
Well, it obviously is not to prevent phasing because that's tactically sensible.
Yeah, but so is using the webway. That just seems too normal.
Can't go around it, can't go over it, can't go through it. Use the webway.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, Dave. When I read that book to my daughter, that's not the version I read.
It is now. What was A again?
I completely lost track of what they were.
A was to build devices capable of combating the effects of distilling.
Oh, again, that feels quite boring.
That's really sensible. I kind of don't like
saving the Imperium, doesn't it?
Yeah, and to me, that's not Cole's bag.
No. I feel like he'd want to experiment and do more of that to see if he can use it.
I mean, part of me thinks he'd chop it up into some equivalent of warp dust and sort of have a party with it, but I'm going to go with phasing Necrons just because I think he'd quite find it funny. Just to go, you can't phase anymore.
I think the webway one because
I think the webway one.
If he's got devices that means he can crack into the webway, that opens up a lot more power across the whole Imperium than just in the Pariah Nexus.
I am going to go into nerdy lore mode though, right? And you go if they've read any of his Black Library novels, they should know his ship is stupidly OP for what it can do. So, like, his ship doesn't need to use a Mandeville point; it just turns up. It's mental.
Like an Orc attackman.
Yeah, it just goes. I've arrived, and it like causes all kinds of problems for the people on the planet, but for all intents and purposes, it works. So
that's not him problem.
Yeah, he doesn't care. They're just humans.
Yeah. So I'm going to go for phase out Necrons because I think he just likes to cause problems.
Well, I'm glad you've both decided to go for preventative measures against Necrons and tunneling into the webway because those are both the ones I made up.
He was boring.
So boring.
Well, so his plan is to use Blackstone to construct devices known as liminal abrasures, which basically is devices which exude an aura of reversing the polarity of the effects of distilling. So the idea is
it's more like noise cancelling headphones.
Is he going to just create another Eye of Terror as he pulls all the warp into one place with this?
Well, that's the thing that he's trying to avoid doing, but theoretically could do. Because the idea
like
is
a large
that,
Hadron Collider.
Yeah. So the idea is that Blackstone can be either positively or negatively charged with warp energy. That's why Necrons love it for negatively charging it and dampening the effects of warp. And that's why Abaddon and the Chaos Forces love it for amplifying warp energy and making it stronger.
Throwing into Cadia.
Yeah. So
we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that on this show. That's that's a sore point.
Cadia stands as a sore point. We all know this. Well, yeah, the idea is
it had a shaft of Blackstone right through the middle of it. That's why.
By the end, it did, yeah.
So, yeah, the idea is that Cole's constructing these devices which they will positively charge warp energy to a equal quantity as what the pylons are charging a negative charge. So he's trying to neutralize the effect in those, like localized areas. Obviously, the issue is if he overcharges it or gets it wrong, then yeah, he's going to be putting too much warp energy into a localized area and potentially cause warp shenanigans.
We all know where this is going in the long term.
So we've got the battlefield scenarios for that. We've reviewed those in the past. Now to bring the warp onto the tabletop.
Question 9. Furthermore, as part of Cole had authorized his lieutenants to do what, if required? A. Sanctify and operate Xenos technology. B. Ignore the pleas of beleaguered Imperial forces in favour of harvesting Blackstone. Or C. Assume command of any Imperial assets they found and execute any dissenters.
Oh, I like that one as well. B for me was the obvious answer, but actually executing anybody is always fun in the Imperium.
Standard operating procedure for the Imperium, I think. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with C. I didn't hear the other two. I just heard executing people and just went, that one. That's the one.
True guardsman in you there, yeah.
Yep.
I'm going B. Yeah, I'm going to go for B.
We were just talking about Cadia's stance. Now he's just itchy to execute someone.
Yeah, when you need to talk about it, Dan, when you're ready, just let us know.
That's right.
Yeah, I think they're just going to ignore humans because that's the Mechanicum's MO. Just doesn't matter about them. Just get what we need.
I tend to agree with that, but 40k, take it a step further. I agree with Dan.
Assume control, execute anyone who disagrees.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that that would in fact be considered too much effort, and instead they are just going to ignore the pleas of Imperial forces and in favour of collecting Blackstone.
Oh, fair enough.
So
Yeah,
they're
you
asking
don't
for help.
shoot them if they're already dead. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Question 10. So this is after now the Imperials and Cole's fleet in particular have now started to become a bit more besieged by the Necrons in the region. They've got there, they've established a beachhead, they've started mining Noctilith, and the Necrons are now showing up pretty pissed about the whole situation. On the world of Faria, Majos Desvodia and her forces were overrun by Necron forces, and she was about to initiate auto-destruct sequence on her Ordinatus engine when what happened? A fleet of Orc rocks crash-landed and disgorged a warband of Orcs desperately looking for anyone or anything to fight, because everything in the region was under the effects of distilling and just not up for a fight anymore. Or B, one of her tech priests unknowingly inverted the polarity of a Blackstone pylon, causing a localized warp rift to unleash demonic hordes into the Necron forces. Or C, the Necrons abruptly ceased fire and hastily withdrew, abandoning the all but conquered world.
As an Orc boy, I'm going A. Every day of the week, I'm going A.
I'm going to go reversing the polarity because I'm going to stick with that
I mean, it's what colour of invasion you want. I mean, Tony's naturally green as well, so that.
But he's also got demons. He has also got demons.
As well. And whilst that is kind of fun and 40k, let's go for the. No, they got scared and ran away.
See, I think it's going to be A or B, just because I think they're going to try and pull other. This is really boring. I think they're going to try and pull other armies into this campaign, and so for me, this is like a way in for like demons or orcs.
Yeah, but I was wrong when I did that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true. But orcs, I can't go against orcs. More orcs.
Always more orcs. I mean, I do think it's really funny, the idea that the orcs in the region who have yet to succumb to the stilling are pissed off that just anything they come by and find doesn't want to fight them because they're just under the effects of the stilling and everyone else has just given up, so they just can't find a good fight.
Well, the Votan is still out there.
It's like the idea that just causes orcs to get depressed.
They just fight each other. There's no orcs can't get depressed. They'll just fight each other.
What's the point? What's the point in anything anymore? Why should I bother?
And just like that, we're back on the Vogon, the Vogon space fleet.
Yep.
So we're going. Ben's going for orcs. What did Dave and Dan? What did you say you were both going for? Sorry,
I'm going demons.
Demons and.
I'm on. No, some mysterious reason caused them to pull away, like Trajan persuaded them to fight somewhere else, or whatever the reason was, but they stopped attacking and withdrew.
Well, I can tell you, Dave, you are correct. It was that the Necrons abruptly ceased fire and hastily withdrew for reasons unknown.
Of course, yeah. It's that unknown thing again, isn't it? It's the same catastrophe with Orokin.
Or is
it makes them mysterious, right?
Yeah, or is it all breadcrumbs leading up to something?
Yeah.
Who knows? I do.
Bread.
And you will find out shortly. Question 11. Elsewhere on the world of Vertigus II, Khal himself was battling the Silent King's own dynastic legions and was about to commit valuable reserves of Adeptus Astartes and Imperial Knights to the conflict when what occurred? A second Necron fleet from the Imotekh dynasty arrived and engaged the Necrons, ignoring the Imperials. B. An Aldari war host appeared on the battlefield, seemingly from nowhere, and engaged the Necrons, ignoring the Imperials. Or C. A kin oath band of the Greater Furian League arrived in system and engaged the Necrons, ignoring the Imperials.
It's a trap, Ben. He's trying to trap you into getting other races in there.
I'm going A because I'm going to be really dull and go logic here, and I'm thinking, hang on, wasn't is that dynasty the Storm Lords one, and didn't they want to sell him as a model?
Yeah,
the Imotekh dynasty is the Storm Lords.
Yeah, you see, that's the logical argument. Games Workshop wants to sell the model.
Yes,
we want them to stay in business and keep making money.
Some would say the hyper-logical decision.
Exactly.
I think this is all the rumours. This is the civil war between the Necrons. I'm going A.
Yeah, I'm not going to fall for bringing other races in so the players can play. Yeah, I'm not falling for that.
No, we don't want other people playing 40k. Let's all be gatekeepers.
Yeah. Space Marines. Just Space Marines. That's all it's.
Are we all going option A? It was Imotekh showing up and starting a fight with the Silent King.
Yeah, but he has to do it in a Scottish voice and go, "Oi, you! No!"
Well, I can tell you, you all get a point. You were all correct.
Yay.
And funnily enough, 11 questions in, that means you're all on 5 points at this point.
No.
But yeah, it was in fact that the Imotekh dynasty shows up and immediately starts fighting the Silent King's forces and just leaves the Imperials alone. And Khal, I love how there's a whole paragraph describing how Khal intricately collects data on the two Necron forces and determines the different heraldry involved between them. And there's there's clearly something going on here. And he comes to the incredible genius level conclusion. Wait a minute. There's some kind of Xenos civil war going on here.
Genius.
Yeah, true. Genius.
The man is
genius over there.
absolute genius.
Yeah, and basically, soon after, conflicts like this sort of start repeating themselves across the Pariah Nexus, particularly from the southeastern fringe of the Nexus, which is the opposite side to where the Imperium came in, the northwestern fringe. And yeah, basically, this is the seeds of the civil war between Imotekh and the Silent King, because Imotekh does not like the Pariah Nexus, and he wants to tear it all down, because he does not like the idea of what the Silent King is getting up to, and he does not want to go back to the flesh times. So, last question of round 2, question 12. Soon after, on Vergor's Alfic, Majos Lundkest was content to watch from orbit as the warring Necron factions fought for control of a mountainous pylon, until who unexpectedly arrived and convinced him to commit his forces to the assault. Was it A, Inquisitor Kyra Draxus, B, Trajan Valoris, or C, Cypher?
Ooh.
Cypher's got some spam. Nobody expects the
Dark Ages
Inquisition.
lover. You know this about me though. You've listened to the podcast. Oh, this is cheating.
Don't fall for it.
Before I answer though, actually, whoever makes up these names, have they just been watching Countdown and whatever letters come up, they just go, yeah, that's a name. Doesn't matter what order they're
a
in.
Norwegian name, isn't it?
But some of those other ones, they're just random letters thrown at a wall, and we're like, yeah, that kind of looks right.
Yeah, the challenge for you guys is guessing the questions. The challenge for me is reading all the names.
Oh, I'm going Cypher. I have to.
I just think he's in the wrong part of the galaxy at this point.
That's what everyone thinks wherever he is.
He's everywhere.
I don't. I'm going to go with the Inquisitor because she hasn't been in it for a while.
It's too logical for me. Too logical.
I've been playing against Custodians a lot recently. Let me go for that one.
Okay. So I'm going to say it's not Trajan Valoris, and the reason why he's and this is lore heavy, right? He's currently fighting the Nids with Old Spice man.
Old Spice.
I'm on a horse. I'm on a horse. What's his name?
So Lilios.
That's the one. Yeah, he's over there, isn't he? So it's not him because he's on a horse.
Can we just picture that for a second? Trajan Valoris on a horse. How big is that horse?
The big horse.
It's a grox. It's not a horse. It's a grox.
But it's okay because
horse.
He would do an amazing Old Spice advert though, wouldn't he? The Tyranids are now diamonds.
Look at me. Now look at the Pariah Nexus. Now back to me. What a horse. So is that a vote for each of them from each of you?
Yeah, I'm going with the Inquisitor.
Well, I can tell you that it was indeed Inquisitor Kyra Draxus. She showed up and she convinced the tech priest in charge to commit his forces to the assault on the Necron pylon. And there's a fun and interesting sort of like side box in this part of the book that basically says that using a combination of knowledge that she shouldn't have possessed or even comprehended if she did, and seemingly coordinating a strike alongside the Stormlord's forces, Inquisitor Draxus was able to destroy the pylon and the planet along with it.
Amazing.
So it's heavily implied that she's basically been off actually making an alliance with Imotekh. So as an Ordozinus Inquisitor, that's where she's been. She's been off sort of being like, hey, we need someone who's going to help us destroy this Necron pylon nexus. I might just know a Necron that might want to do that.
Oh, you'd love to be a fly on the wall in that conversation, wouldn't you?
And then, yeah, probably somewhere in the corner, Trajan was also watching.
Then collection.
Going, can I have your dragon, please?
Oh, well, Dan, I'm pleased to inform you it is now time for your favourite part of the quiz.
Yes!
This is round 3, this time entitled the Contra-Empirical Name Game Nexus.
Did well to pronounce that one. That one's definitely been practiced, right?
A lot of these have been practiced coming up. So, this is the name game round. Again, for listeners who this is perhaps the first time you've seen or heard one of these quiz shows, we always have a round that tends to involve some of the ridiculous naming conventions that Games Workshop includes in their lore. This time, it's a bunch of terminology used by the Necrons in their technology and their other systems used throughout the Nexus, because there's some pretty insane Necron terms thrown around.
See, you couldn't do this with Grey Knights, because it'd be Nemesis this and Nemesis that.
Yeah.
Frost this, Frost that, Space Wolves. It's Necrons, they got more creativity, is that what you're saying?
Just a bit. So in this round, it's going to be we're going to have a true or false option every time. Basically, I'm going to give a name, and you have to tell me whether or not you think it is a true name from the Crusade book, or if it is a false name that I've made up, something that is not in Games Workshop lore. We'll keep a quick tally of who gets the most correct answers this round, and then I'll award 3 points to the person who gets the most right, 2 points to the second, and 1 point to whoever gets the least, rather than just having an arbitrary amount of extra points handed out for every right and wrong answer here. So, as the contra-immaterial nodal matrix is the correct name and term that the Necrons use when referring to the Pariah Nexus. That's what they have called the network of pylons. These names are pretty ridiculous. We have a few little...
That sounds like what an engineer would call it, in all honesty.
Maybe that's why it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, obviously. Why would you not call it that?
So, we have a few little subcategories within this. The first of which is all Necron engineering terms used in the construction of the Matrix.
I'm going to write these down for future work.
So, first up, we have the term tempospatial origins.
That feels true to me. Yeah, it feels
these all
Necron-y.
Yeah, these are all Necron-y, right?
These are all Necron terms, all used by Necrons in reference to their own technologies.
Allegedly. We have to say true or false.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you say it again, because I wasn't listening.
That's
tempospatial origins.
Nah, false.
that sounds like a Stephen Hawking term, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Ah, but he's a Necron, didn't you know that?
True. True, he is now.
He phased out.
Sorry, too soon.
I'm going true.
I'm going false.
True.
You going false, Dan?
Yeah, I'm going false. It doesn't sound Necron-y.
Well, I can tell you, it is true. But we're just getting started, Dan. Next up, we have the term transmobius hypertunneling.
That's got to be true.
Oh, I don't know. Isn't like Mobius like a?
Well,
actually,
a Mobius strip is a mathematical strip which goes upside. It kind of.
It's only got one side. The three-dimensional object that only has one surface.
Yeah, it's.
Remember, all Necron technology is in fact hyperscience. It is all based, in theory, in reality and scientific knowledge, as opposed to warp magic.
I'm going to go with true because I like the idea that they've used a Mobius strip as a thing.
Say it again, Tony.
Transmobius hypertunneling.
Oh, so it's the idea that it's effectively like a singular plane.
Yeah, a singular.
tunnel.
Yeah,
I like
it's
transmobius.
So it's.
I
like. Can we go back to the metal albums? I much prefer the metal albums.
I think this is got to be more of a name for the Elon Musk Hyperloop than it has for Necron.
Now you said that, Dave.
I'm false.
I'm going to go false. Yeah, I've changed my mind. I'm going false.
What do you reckon, Dave?
False.
False. I can tell you, it is false. You all get a point. That is one I made up. So you have to remember as well that whilst obviously a bunch of these are true terms and are in that book, everything that is false is something I've had to come up with. So you can imagine the fun I've had trying to come up with these names. Right. So next up we have the next term is the Nexus Stellar Nodal Entanglement Corridors.
That's not a rude acronym. I'm just making sure that's not a rude acronym.
You don't want to get your nodals entangled. That's not good. It's so
it makes no sense at all. So
it's got to be true.
Yeah, true.
I don't think you could make up that level of nonsense when it's you versus the GW staff writers, Tony.
You can get some cream for that. You just.
Well, I can tell you that Nexus Stellar Nodal Entanglement Corridors are true. They're a real thing in 40k lore.
Of course they are.
Leading you straight into the Data Canyon.
Yeah, good old Data Canyon. Oh, God bless the Data Canyon.
Next up, we have the term esoteric crypto engineering.
I'm going to go false.
That's Sam Bangman 3 to
I'm going to go true.
Sounds too human for me.
Because, and the reason why I think it's true is because GW love a good esoteric every now and again.
True.
They do like a good esoteric, and if it had resplendent in there, I would be. If it had the word resplendent, I'd be in there all over that. But I'm going to go with true because they do like their esoterics.
I'm going to go false. I can't back anything crypto. I think it's all right.
Yeah, false.
You're going false, Ben.
Yeah, false.
I can tell you it is true.
Yes!
Esoteric crypto engineering, another official Games Workshop term.
It's the esoteric that gave it away. It was...
the last of the Necron engineering terms, is this a true term or a false term? Chrono realignment arrays.
I'm going to go false. I don't think they use chrono. I think they use temporal or whatever.
I'm going to go false because what you've described there is someone winding their watch up.
You see, I think that's a translation from Latin and back into English. I could turn back time by share.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't think that's real.
He's coming up with your rock songs again. That's your problem.
Damn, they've heard of chrono realignment by share.
Yeah.
I can tell you that yes, that is false. That is one that I made up. However, Ben, it is worth knowing that chrono is a term Necrons use.
Yes,
because Orokin is a chronomancer.
Yeah, of course he is.
Speaking of cryptex, our next selection.
I thought you were going to say speaking of share. Then
to the music round.
Yeah.
Speaking of cryptex, our next selection of terms are all different cryptech disciplines that are described in this book. So the first example we have is this a real cryptech discipline or a false one? Translocational geniuses.
No.
That's a name for an Apple Store employee.
No, I'm going to go no on that one.
They do translocation, but geniuses is got like the opposite effect of resplendent.
But I think they're just big-headed enough to be like, yeah, I'm a genius, obviously.
Yeah, but have you translocated
It's
yourself?
in my job title.
Yeah. I'm going to go true.
I'm going to go false because that just sounds like all they're doing is moving house.
Yeah. I'm going to go true.
I'm translocating my
want
genius.
it to be false.
So Ben and Dave going true, yeah?
I'm going false.
Yeah.
I can tell you that is true.
That is
And
ridiculous.
there's a cryptech discipline known as translocational geniuses, and they give that their own title in their job description.
Of course they do.
So this is-
big head enough for it.
Is that an Necron Lord called Eddie Stobart?
Next cryptech discipline. True or false? Quantum entanglers.
I think he's had visions of the noodle-handed gods of the Pastafarians. I think that's his problem.
It's instantaneous.
It happens. It always happens at some point in the quiz.
That's ridiculous.
But is it ridiculous
No,
enough
that's
to be
false,
true?
Tony.
What's your job title? I'm a quantum entangler. Thank you very much. I hear you can get cream for that. Well, yes, I know. Oh, you silly man.
He tried to tempt us with a crypto entanglement earlier, didn't he?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not. Please don't say that's real. I can't. I'm gonna wet myself if that's real.
I'm going true because I think it's
I
just
want-
gonna be that
Does
funny.
you want to see Dan wet himself?
Yeah,
I'm
I think
gonna
it's quite
go. I'm gonna go true, but I really hope it's not because it's
False.
just.
I'll go
It's
false.
just ridiculous.
I can tell you, Dan, your bladder will be saved because it is false.
No.
That was-
Yeah, I had to come up with the term quantum entanglers.
It's just. Ah.
But they didn't play the
Next.
North London pubs in the early 1980s.
That's what's right through my head. Yep.
Next potential cryptech discipline. The cryptofractal numerarchs.
Oh,
Oh,
true.
that's true.
That's just two. That feels. Yes.
I
Yes,
like how
that one
certain
is true.
we were like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
got to be true. It's so ridiculous.
Only GW can make that sort of stuff.
That hits the
up.
spot.
That is just perfect Necron right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this one? Cryptech discipline, true or false? Dimensional polyglots.
So I'm going to go true because I know what a polyglot is. So I'm going to go true.
I'm going to go false.
Yeah, I'm a polyglot, so I'm going to go false.
Dan, would you like to tell us what a polyglot is?
No. Just in case I get it wrong.
He's somebody who speaks many languages,
That's it.
or several languages.
Yeah. And that's why, because the idea of whatever the first word was that I've lost track of. What was it? Dimensional. So the idea that they travel through multiple different dimensions, or they have a mastery over it, that kind of sounds Necron-y, kind of.
I don't think they care enough about other creatures though to learn their languages. I know there's the odd one that does.
I'm not saying it's a language-based thing. I'm just saying it's like the idea of they've used it for multiple dimensions. And
Trazon probably collects languages.
Yeah.
And
And teapots.
I can tell you, Dan. I can tell you, Dan, that you're right in the sense that like polyglot and dimensions and this idea of working through multiple things and all the rest of it and having control over multiple facets of reality is a very Necron-y thing, and that's why I made
But you made it up. Damn you.
Yeah, that one is false. So then, next, potential cryptech discipline. True or false? Contra-Euclidean architects.
You have just got a dictionary out, haven't you?
No,
And
I
just
think
gone-
non-Euclidean space is something that keeps coming up
Yeah.
in Necron architecture quite a lot.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go
And I
true.
wonder if it's about like the structure of the pylons. Yeah, I'm going to go true.
I'm going to go true.
You going true as well, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah. Another very intuitively Necron one, would you say?
Yeah.
Well, it's false.
He's probably
That was a well done one.
It was a well done one. I was very proud of myself when I came up with that one. I thought that
did
very
hit the spot as well. That's a good
Necron-y.
one.
Yeah.
And then finally, in our potential cryptech disciplines, we have Phasemantic Viziers.
Oh, definitely true. That's got to be surely. No sane mind can come up with that.
I mean, Viziers is one of those old Persian terms, isn't it, for an advisor? So it's the kind of language they pull out to give to basically Necrons.
I'm going to go true.
Just to run through quickly, as it were, within these disciplines, obviously everything tends to be like the naming convention is discipline and title sort of thing. So in terms of like the titles, we've had geniuses, entanglers, numerarchs, polyglots, architects, and now viziers. But I can tell you that Phasemantic Viziers are indeed an actual Necron cryptech discipline in the lore. That is true.
I've seen them use Viziers quite a lot in other Necron books. That's what gave it away for me, I think. Why would any sane person come up with that title?
And then the last part of the name game round, these are just other generic Necron terms for used in their technology. So first of which, true or false, is this a Necron terminology? Multispectral phase lock.
That's Star Trek.
That's Star Trek. False.
I'm going to go true, just to be contrary.
False.
I can tell you that that one is false. That is one that I made up, and if it bears any similarity to Star Trek, then that is purely one of those coincidental things. It's not where I pulled it from.
Close. Yeah, very, very close.
Next term, true or false? Meta-dimensional vivisection.
It's just what words?
I hope you've made that up, Tony.
Yeah. I
hope he hasn't made it up, because that says something about Tony's mind.
I'm gonna say true. I'm gonna
say true. Yeah.
I'm going to say false, just to be contrary.
I can tell you that meta-dimensional vivisections are indeed something practiced by the Necrons in the lore. That one is true.
Wow.
What on earth are they eating over there?
What they do with the cows as well.
Next Necron term, true or false? A bionumeral tetragenics.
I don't want to play this game anymore, Tony.
Sorry, is that bio?
Bio, B-I-O. Bionumeral tetragenics.
False. I'm going to go false.
I'm going to go true.
Yeah, it sounds something more false, because it sounds something more associated with a medical professional in Emperor's Children than it does.
Yeah, it's more Fabius Bile than Necron. Well, I can tell you, it is in fact true, and it's more within this is sort of all within the domain of Illuminator Caesaris, yeah. Right. Mr. Master of biotransference himself. He is, of course, involved in all this. Next up, we have the term Nova Symphonic Override.
That sounds like something from the Emperor's Children.
That's an album in yellow.
I'm going to go false on that one.
False for me.
False.
That one is false, correct.
Is it an album by Yellow?
No, again, just made up series of vaguely Necron-sounding scientific words. Speaking of which, our next term is cyclo-necrotic phase space.
Psycho-necrotic safe space.
Cyclo-necrotic.
Yeah,
the
cyclo-necrotic phase space.
I mean,
they do love their phase spaces, though.
Yeah, That one. If Tony's made that up, he's done a good job.
I'm going to go it's made up.
True.
False.
I'm going to go true.
That one is true. Again, part of the remit of the Illuminar there. And then we're on to the last couple now. True or false? Otherworldly oculoscopes.
That's false. That's got to be false. That's silly, and it's false.
I'm going to, because it's so silly, I'm going to go true.
That's good reasoning. It does sound like a Necron peeping Tom, though.
I wonder what that Emperor's doing now. Oh, on his throne again.
Yeah. For anybody listening and not watching this one, you got to do the hands over the eyes like binoculars. True.
So is that just Dan going false on this one?
Yeah, I'm going false.
I can tell you that otherworldly oculoscopes is true. That is a real term used in this book.
That's
Trays on the Infinite uses. Ooh, well, I think that one.
Oh, I've got a twitcher here.
Next up, we have thermogravitic annihilator arrays.
Fear of
That
missing
sounds-
FOMO.
FOMO.
That's just his accent.
Fear of missing out.
Thermogravitic
That sounds like
annihilator
something
arrays.
that Caller fits to his Ordinatus engines.
I thought it was quite imperial soundings. Yeah, I'm going to go.
I'm going
false.
false.
Sounds very imperial.
Maybe that makes it true, though. Surely Tony wouldn't have had something that's so far away from being Necron. I'm going true.
Now you're making the mistake that Tony's really thought about this in depth instead of spending all his time spending with fun words, which we know he spent all his time with fun words.
I'm going false.
So just Ben going true?
I'm going true, yeah.
Well, Ben's logic has at least earned him a point there because it is true. Thermogravitic annihilator
There we go.
arrays.
Yeah, there we go. It was too far away from being Necron, so it had to be
It's gone
Necron.
all the way around to be Necron again.
He's learned how this quiz works.
Our penultimate name, is this Necrontech or not? Transharmonic Synaptic Atomizer.
That's true. Because isn't that the thing that the sniper weapons use?
I'm going for
The death marks.
Or is it, has he made it sound so similar to it that...
Yeah, that's why I'm going false.
you're such a... I'm going to go
false?
true. I'm going to go true.
True as well.
What are you going for, Dave? Sorry?
True, please.
True. I can tell you that transharmonic synaptic atomizers are false. That is one I have made up. It wasn't specifically to be like the Deathmark weapons, but atomizer was a word that I did pick, knowing that it sounds a bit like a bunch of other Necron terminology.
So it was the synaptic thing. Was it the synaptic?
Yeah,
thing?
synaptic's another one that is thrown in there in some other Necron tech, but yeah.
Atomizer is what you use in a perfume bottle, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
Then, finally, for the name game round, last piece of potential Necron terminology. True or false? Chronophagic bombardment.
Chronophagic. So, time, disease, bombardment. I'm going to go true.
I'm going true. Throwing time weapons.
Yeah.
That sounds like something Necrons would do.
Doesn't sound sensible, so yes.
For reference, in real world terms, phagic is Latin for eat.
Oh.
It is because a phage is a kind of creature kind of virus that eats other viruses. Yeah, it's an antiviral thing.
So it's a time-eating bomb.
So we all going true?
That sounds Necron. Yeah, let's go true with that one.
That's another box set on Netflix, a time-eating bomb.
I can tell you that this is true. Chronophagic bombardment is some real Necron weapons used in this book.
They've got insane weapons. How have they not
I
destroyed
love the way he
everything?
calls this
Or
stuff.
as I like to call it, an episode. Or as I like to call it, an episode of EastEnders.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, funnily enough, for the name game round, earning himself 3 points is in fact Ben with 15 correct guesses.
Yay.
Earning 2 points for himself is Dave with 13 correct guesses, and just behind them is Dan on 11 correct guesses. So you're all pretty good. Pretty close.
Close,
on that one.
yeah, close.
Which means going into our fourth and final round of the quiz for tonight. This is entitled Escalating Madness. So you know it's going to get good.
Is that the subtitle of this quiz?
Yeah, that's what I would think it is. Yeah. There's your episode title right there.
Question 14. As it became apparent the war in the Nexus would not be won swiftly, the Magi commanding the fleets now turned to unleashing ancient and forbidden archaeotech they had each brought, in secret, to the Nephilim sector. Safe in the knowledge that they were beyond censor for doing so, and that they alone had had the foresight to bring such weapons that their peers would have deemed heretical under any other circumstances. My question to you is, how many of the tech priests in the fleet did in fact do this, secretly bring ancient forbidden archaeotech weapons with them? Was it A, none of them of course, that would be tech heresy? B, it was Cole's 6 chief lieutenants, known as the Martian Hexad? Or was it C, all of them, unbeknownst to each other?
Oh, that's such a good question.
I mean, if I can misquote the TV series, The Rise and Fall of Reginald Perrin, I didn't get where I am today without committing tech heresy. All of them, every single damn tech priest brought tech heresy because they thought they could get away with it in the next.
It's like, Mum's not in, let's go and...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, as a devout Dark Angel player, my line in the sand is Dark Angels should be the only ones who do horrendous war crimes like that. But yeah, see, all of them did it because
okay, I'm going to go 6. 6?
6.
6.
6 out of 3. I mean, 6 of them.
I'm going to go B, just because I like the idea of you saying whatever you said about the 6 people that were there again.
Cole's 6 chief lieutenants, known as the Martian Hexad.
Yeah.
Which again, Hexad is the sort of like, I think it's the Latin term for a group of 6.
Yeah. Or a Martian boy band.
And Dave and Ben.
Isn't there Seminole and the Beneath Mount Mons Olympus?
And Dave and Ben, we were both going for all of them, unbeknownst to each other.
All of them, yeah. All the time.
All of them. Well, I can tell you that, yes, of course, every single damn one of them brought some forbidden tech, thinking they were the only one to do so.
So unoriginal, Mechanicus.
Question 15. These ancient and deadly archaeotech devices varied in every imaginable way and performed a myriad of wonders from the dark age of technology. Which of
every
these...
imaginable way. There was one that fired pears at them. I mean, kumquat. I mean, this one does glitter.
To be fair, that might kill me. The amount of glitter that you could wear. Just around me glitter.
Glitter's
So, my question to you is: which of these was one of? Which of these was one such device? Was it
all of them? Because everything imaginable. And you must have thought these up. Sorry.
Was it A, the Yocto particulate crucible, B, Devorel's necrocastigatrix, or C, the Cyclofox determination?
Let me just check that B one.
Headache.
That B one is a female version, right? This is a castigatrix, not a castigator.
Catrix.
What was the fox one?
What did the fox say?
It was a fox one.
I think that was that. Yeah, I think that was
Castrated fox one. What was it? What?
So these are all the names of these particular pieces of archaeotech. Which one of them is true? Was it A, the Yactoparticulate Crucible, B, Devorel's Necrocastigatrix, or C, the Cyclofox Determination?
The fox one. I'm going to go with.
I'll go B for the lady gun, whatever that was.
I want to know what the I want to know what the fox said. I want that one.
Well, I can tell you that you all get a point because all three of these are archaeotech devices from the book.
Did say that before you gave the answers out.
Yeah.
I think Dave should get an extra point because he did say all of them.
Dave gets an extra point for calling the trick question. Because, all three of those are ridiculously named pieces of ancient imperial archaeotech from the Dark Age. I have no idea what any of them do, but Devorel's Necrocastigatrix is a real thing.
I love the way he uses reveal.
One of them shoots pears, the other one shoots glitter.
Yeah, kumquats, everything imaginable.
Right. Question 16. As the war in the Nexus intensified, it wasn't just the Imperials that unleashed devastating weapons of ancient and arcane destruction. In the Zan system, a cabal of plasmancers devastated the Imperial Navy when they did what? A. Triggered overlapping solar flares from the local star aimed directly at the Imperial fleet. B. Propelled a bound dwarf star into the Imperial naval formations. Or C. Unleashed a triad of unbound Catan shards of Nazdrazavah, the Burning One.
Oh, they are all really good.
Yeah, they all sound quite insane enough to be something real. You've done well here, Tony. Yeah.
Can I just state that I really appreciated how happy he was to read the question. He sounded like, and now they're looking at these exterminating. It's like the sort of bedtime reading voice you would have, but with the most sort of horrendous thing possible. And after
at this stage of the war, the Nazis were winning.
It just sounded so happy. Yeah. Oh, those pesky Necrons are at it again.
Hey, I have a lot of fun writing these law quizzes for you guys. I can't deny it. They're a lot of fun.
I think they bowled a sun at the fleet with a googly.
I'm gonna go for Catan because we haven't seen any yet. So I feel like
I'll go for the other one.
Triggering overlapping solar flares.
Yeah, that one. They're just setting the sun off over and over again.
Well, I can tell you, they were indeed bowling a dwarf star into the Imperial fleet. So Dave gets the point.
Suitably ridiculous.
Yeah, we just take this bound dwarf star and just hurl it at them. Question 17. Over the world of Tarantis, 2 Mechanicus fleets rushed to aid the defenders as they were devastated by the renewed Necron onslaught. Eager to unleash his secret arcana weapon, the Ark of Oblivion, Magos Orodai fired the torpedo-like weapon into the Necron fleet, destroying 3 mighty tomb ships. But what exactly was the effect that this weapon had? Was it A. Dark Age vortex warheads ripped a hole in reality, briefly piercing the veil of the nodal matrix and consuming those caught within it?
That's quite old Hammer vortex missiles.
Yeah, that's very Dark Angel heresy. Yeah.
Was it B? Contra-molecular shockwaves vibrated uncontrollably through the ships and their crew, turning them into spreading slurry in the void?
Oh, that's grim.
Or C? A scrap code virus containing the tortured data geist of an abominable intelligence ravaged the minds and system engrams of the Necrons, rendering them either inert or insane.
Yeah, you can't infect Necrons with demons. I'm going Old Hammer. Old Hammer with a vortex missile.
I'm going to go for jelly because it's late
Space
and
jelly.
I'm hungry.
I'll go for the scrap code.
I can tell you that the Ark of Oblivion did indeed turn all 3 of the Necron ships into space jelly.
Yay!
Wow.
Space jelly!
It vibrated them on a molecular level.
That was insane. I don't know. Yeah, we should have gone for that one. That one is absolutely
It is.
insane.
You're right.
It's down the lines of that other one on the having everybody being turned into servitors who had heard the meth. It has that sort of level of insanity. It's just like, yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Well, so here's the funny thing, as a sort of continuation on this note. Do you remember how we said there were 2 Mechanicus fleets rushing to aid the Imperials here against the Necrons?
Yeah.
Well, however, due to a lack of warning, his fellow fleet commander, Magi Bazette, saw significant losses amongst her own deploying planetary drop forces, as they were also caught in the outermost ripples of the detonation. Because he didn't bother to warn her that he was firing the arcane weapon.
Yeah, I used to do that to myself every time I fired a flamer with a template.
We've all been there.
Yeah, every guard player ever is collateral damage. It's fine.
Yep.
So, question 18. Outraged at what they saw as the ignorant and clumsy deployment of a weapon beyond the human's comprehension, the Necron Cryptex unleashed their own most devastating and unpredictable weapon. Again, Magi Bazette and her Skitarii suffering the worst of the weapon's wrath. What was it? Was it A, a swarm of canoptic constructs burning with the reality geist energy of a micro-splintered Catan shard?
You just put words together again, didn't you? You just
No,
went,
it feels like
just
it.
going to
Yeah.
throw words together and see what
GPT,
sticks.
give me.
Yeah.
Or was it B, gravatic bombardments that flattened mountains and cracked the surface of the world? Or C, dimensional flux arrays that burned kaleidoscopic fissures through anything they touched, rewriting the molecular structure of the targets as they went?
That one.
That one, the tiny fish.
The one with kaleidoscopes in.
Yeah, that one, the last one.
That one. Yeah, that one.
one.
It's too late in the evening for me to use English words, Tony. I can't cope. This one has broken me on a linguistic level. I can't cope with. I feel like you're talking a different language. I can't cope.
We look at the scale of 40k-ness in them and leveling mountains and cracking crusts of a planet. I mean, that's what all the fleets
That's a
do.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Rewriting small cracks across reality so things fall apart in an unpredictable way. I mean, that's just
40k.
this is what we should be.
Well, I can tell you it's not gravitic bombardments. You are right there. However, it is in fact it was a 1,000-strong swarm of canoptic constructs, all infused with the burning energy of a reality geist, micro-splintered Catan shards.
Ah, there's the Catan. Should have.
From the Catan, Isha Udrera, known as the Endless Swarm. So it's a
There's
pretty...
so many words in that sentence that just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Needs editing.
This is how the Necrons conquer the galaxy, through sheer boredom. Just I can't.
Is that what the whole effect in the Pariah Nexus is? It's just boredom with their complex engineering words.
They're just talking at them.
Oh, I can't be doing
Oh, I
that
can't be
anymore.
bothered with this anymore.
We're going back to the Vogons reading poetry, aren't we?
I mean, the funny thing is, believe it or not, that was an edited down version of the description in the book because I had to get it down to be a question answer. Oh,
Absolutely ridiculous.
nearly there. Question 19. Resolving to even the score, Magi Bazette unleashed her own secret Archaeotech weapon on the surface of Tarantis. Hence the whole escalating madness.
How does Tarantis still exist as a thing at this point?
Oh, they didn't flatten the mountain.
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah, they didn't crack it. Yeah.
It exists, but it just exists in multiple universes and dimensions everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah. It's covered in bees.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of slurry everywhere.
Yeah, there's jelly.
Strange slurry.
Yeah, and all sorts of things.
Raining liquid Necron.
Yeah.
And liquid Mechanicus, because they got caught in the crossfire.
Yeah,
true.
It's just mainly liquid.
So she unleashed her own Archaeotech weapon. However, whatever its true nature was intended to be remains unknown, as when it was activated, it reacted in an unexpected way to the rampant energies of the Catan, the one that was currently murdering all her forces. What happened next? Was it A, the sanity-consuming mind fire of the Catan leapt through the consciousness of every living thing on Tarantis in minutes, leaving the world devoid of life? And Dan, devoid of sanity. Or B, a silent orb of expanding darkness grew to engulf a third of the planet before popping like a bubble, erasing the mass it had consumed. Or C, the splintered shards of the Catan impossibly reformed as a single vengeful entity, eradicating Magi Bazette and her forces before turning on its Necron captors in the void.
My initial thought was B.
I like that
last one. Yeah, I do like that one.
I like the idea that it's gone all Jason Voorhees on them. That would be quite cool. I think I'm going to go C.
I like the idea that the big bubble formed a long night on the planet.
I like that
back
one
to
as
an
well.
older Fun Facts episode. Because the long nights were something that need mentioning again.
Yeah,
The
I'm going to
long
go B.
The
Yeah.
refrigerators. Yeah.
Are you going B as well, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that the bubble of darkness is a returning theme. It is true. That is something that that happened in this book. However, this time, as I say, when the bubble of darkness popped, it physically erased from reality a third of the planet at once, instantaneously. So this planet now looks like a tower.
Hang on. Right, I have questions. Right,
I'm sure you do.
Now?
no, okay. So, if you physically remove something from reality, that means it's never existed. So this planet, everyone who now sees this planet thinks, yeah, that's normal. Planets look like that.
No, they're very aware that the planet shouldn't look like that, especially considering it now sends it tumbling out of its orbit because it's now completely thrown off the
If
whole
that's a
mass.
sphere that takes out over a third of it, that must need to go slightly further than the equator, so it's going to send it not only tumbling, it's going to send it tumbling not only up and across, but
Yeah,
it wouldn't
it
change
does.
its orbit.
Dave, are you a
Wouldn't change its
Necron?
orbit. No, I'm an engineer.
But yeah, it's described in the book as being like this planet is literally now like tumbling, like you say, through space and through on its sort of like orbit around the world, just cascading apart and collapsing because obviously it's physically leaking from the core of the world
I mean,
as well as it.
That's
travels.
how
Dave,
baby asteroid
Dave-
belts are made.
Dave, you're assuming that it was taken out in one chunk. It could be multiple multiple.
Called it a sphere.
Yeah.
It
was
was
a
a sphere.
Oh, was it? Okay, fair enough.
It
That
was
makes
not-
me think that it's
it
not
was
like a flat thing. It's like something's taken a bite out of it.
Yeah,
It's Euclidean,
that's basically
not
what it looks
non-Euclidean.
like. Yeah.
It's like a massive apple core.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. It's just the giant Apple logo in space now.
They pay a lot for advertising.
Exactly. Sponsored by.
Hey, we've got to pay the wages of those translocational geniuses.
It's true.
And on to our penultimate question. Question 20. In the Sacron system, Mirin Dominus Gelf was fighting a stalemate war with the Necrons as his sanity slowly left him, leaving him erratic and paranoid. In his desperation, he finally unveiled his own warded Archaeotech device, known as Chiveric's Constellation. What was this device? Was it A?
Before you give us the answers, we should point out that Gelf was a monster in Red Dwarf. The genetically engineered life form, right?
Well, if you feel that has any bearing on this answer, bear it in mind.
I thought this question was just actually describing Dan in this episode at this point.
Pretty much. So, what was this device? Was it A, an AI void ship armed with a Dark Age proto-nova cannon? B, a network of ancient micro-servitor satellites bristling with unidentifiable weapon systems? Or C, a shackled Catan shard subdued by means unknown to humanity?
I now know what my wife feels like when I talk about 40k to her. I'm feeling empathy here. Because you said words, and I understood them as individuals, but I didn't quite...
all of the right notes. Not necessarily
in the right order. There was something about shards and satellites.
Cats and shards.
I'm just really, really tired, and I don't know anymore.
I think there's an obvious link between the constellation and the satellites. But I feel that's too obvious.
I'm going for the multiple cats one, the Catan thing.
The Catan shard.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically an Imperial Catan shard.
Yeah, I like that. That's quite cool.
That is quite cool.
That is quite cool. Yeah. I'm going to go with that one. I think that's quite cool.
I'm going to go with the satellites. I feel like it's too obvious, but I'm going to go with it. I've gone full circle here.
Tony?
What was that, Dave?
What was the first one again, please?
An AI void ship armed with a Dark Age proto-nova cannon.
Yeah, I'll go with that one just because I've been reading a lot of non-Games Workshop military sci-fi recently.
Well, I can tell you that, yes, the clue was in the name. It is, in fact, a constellation of a networked series of ancient micro-servitor satellites with unidentifiable weapon systems.
Well, guns that go bang with them.
Yeah.
That's what it's unidentifiable as a weapon system.
No, Dave, they don't go bang. It's in space. You can't hear them.
Fizzle.
It's fair to say that when... It's okay, Dan. We've got one last question to get to. You can make it.
It's too late for this. It's just too late. I want to go to bed.
We're nearly done, Dan. One last question. Predictably, when Gelf uses this ancient satellite array, it goes horribly wrong. So, last question of tonight's quiz. Question 21. After ritually syncing his consciousness with the machine mind of the constellation, releasing the devices into the void, and disabling the safety regulators, it became apparent the ancient device had been corrupted long ago and ignored Grelf's commands. Powering up and firing, the overcharged energy weapons devastated both the Necron and Imperial fleets. But who was responsible for corrupting the Dark Age weapon system millennia ago?
Oh, I think I know already. Can I guess before the choices? Because he hasn't turned up yet. Is it our man? Vashtig or whatever his name is?
Vashtor.
Vashtor. It's got to be in it. It's got to be. He hasn't turned up yet, has he?
I will give you the options, Dan.
All right, okay. I'm excited now. You've got me back in. I'm focused.
The options are A, Orican the Diviner.
Nah.
B, Arkan Land.
Ooh,
or C, Vashtor the Archifane.
It's him. It's him. It's so him. It's. And unfortunately, you couldn't see my face when the realization hit. It was a good face.
Yeah, I'm going to go see her. Yeah.
I think that's probably right, but I'm going to guess land because I do love land.
Everybody loves land.
We know that's one of the personalities within Call anyway, right?
Well, I can tell you that, in fact, the ancient Archaeotech device known as Shivarak's Constellation was indeed long ago, millennia ago, in schemes lasting thousands upon thousands of years, corrupted and manipulated to this very moment in the Pariah Nexus by Vashtor the Archifane.
Yay!
Yeah, basically the devices, when they power up, it's sort of like the big climax of the book, and it's the fact that they decimate the fleets, they rip a hole in space-time and reality, and emerging from the rip in space above this planet comes the Wormwood, which, for those who know from the latest sort of, the story arc,
that's big.
Acts of Omen, it is big.
That is
comes
big.
the Wormwood, which is the rebuilt remains of Caliban, and is now in thrall to Vashtor and his mechanical devotees, and it has ripped its way.
Oh, those Necrons have got egg on their faces, haven't they?
Yeah, you'll love this, Dan, because I'll read you the final little descriptive paragraph about how this happens, and it will include some of your favourite terminology.
Oh, no.
So, do you remember right at the start of the quiz, we mentioned a Necron pylon that was large enough it pierced the moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the moon above this planet where this happens.
Right.
And remember how Blackstone can be negatively or positively charged with warp energy? And the Necrons have obviously set it to be negatively charged.
Yeah.
Well, as the satellites rip this hole in reality and allow the Wormwood to emerge, it's described in the book thusly. All the released energy of the satellites and their glowing glyphs flowed inwards, building at the centre of the fisheye distortion to a glowing point that became a rupture, then burst outward in a geyser of ejected ectoplasm and tattering unreality. A ghost light blazed like a newborn star at the heart of the Saran system, as something cyclopean and dreadful bored its way through into real space from the liminal zones beyond. A shockwave of etheric corruption rolled out from the emergence point, mutating countless machines before slamming into the Saran pylon and reversing its warp polarity in a ferocious storm of crimson lightning. Gravity distorted, and an epidemic of earthquakes and floods tore at every world in the system as an infernal planetary body of colossal size manifested at the system's heart. Wormwood had come, the grotesque demon world of Vashtor the Archifane, blazing like a poisoned star.
So, here's a question. Does that mean the Pariah Nexus isn't a Pariah Nexus anymore, then? Because that's turned up and just caused countless amounts of awfulness.
It's definitely caused some problems. The Silent King isn't happy about it, and this is definitely the calamity that Orokin had foreseen.
Yeah, that's a big calamity. I mean, on the scale of 1 to 10, that's up there with calamities.
Yep. So it's interesting that after going through everything they went through with the Arcs of Omen, Vashtor finally assembled the Wormwood, and the first thing he's decided to do with it is go straight to the Pariah Nexus, of all places.
Do you like the fact they've kept the narrative going, like, in an actual logical manner? Whereas lately it's been quite sporadic. It seems like they're joining bits together, which is quite good.
Personally, I do like it. I like it a lot. But what I also like is the fact that it's there for those who want to go read about it. But it's not all pervasive. Like if you've not been reading the lore in these books as they've come out, it's not really changing or affecting your perception of the universe as a whole. But it's there for you to follow along if you want to, and it's quite fascinating.
And let's face it, it's mostly the listeners to this podcast that actually bother to read the lore.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as always with these quizzes, these questions are taken from the highlights of the particularly ridiculous things that come up throughout the told narrative of this book. So if you do want a more...
Dare you, Tony, calling this stuff ridiculous? Honestly.
It's all real. You keep telling us that.
Yeah.
It's all real. Well, with that, we do have some final scores on the doors at the end of tonight's quiz. Coming in with 10 points and an incredibly frayed sanity is Dan.
Yay!
Just ahead of him is Dave with 12 points. And ahead and winning tonight's quiz by 1 point is Ben on 13 points.
Congrats,
13 as well.
Congrats,
Thank you.
And I think everyone is glad we got to the end of this particular linguistic minefield that has been the Pariah Nexus.
If the next book can be away from Necrons, that would be nice for just a little break from Necrons.
Yeah, I mean, it's made for a fascinating read, and it made for a really interesting time trying to come up with these questions and alternate answers. But as always, I love doing these quizzes. I think they're so much fun. We always have an incredible amount of laughs and good times when we do them. And yeah,
you say that I'm exhausted. I'm just exhausted.
It's the sign of a good time.
Yes, it is.
And thank you, Ben, for coming and joining us and being involved in it, because it's certainly an experience. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, no, it's great fun. Thank you for inviting me on. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Can't stop laughing. It's been really good.
Excellent. Well, for the sake of Dan's sanity, I think we'll wrap things up there for tonight. So before we go, Ben, do you want to tell everyone again one last time where they can sort of find you? And I mean, obviously, we know you're taking a bit of a seasonal break, but where people can find your backlog of interviews. Yeah,
so I mean, podcast is kind of here, there, and everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you want to listen to the podcasts. If you want to get hold of me, just jump on Instagram. First Rank Fire Podcast over on Instagram. Feel free to follow, ping me a message or anything like that. There is a plan for a next season, and I'm going to keep painting and things like that. So my Instagram should remain quite live. But yeah, there's 34 episodes to go back and listen to. Should you wish to hear my dulcet tones over and over again.
Excellent. I highly advise people to go check it out. I've been listening along since Ben started, and it's a fascinating journey and a fascinating series of interviews. So I definitely advise you to check it out. There'll be links in the description below for everything, so you should be able to find it right there. And Dan, once you've pieced your sanity back together, where can people find you?
I'm on the old Instagram at Garage Hobbit. That's it, really. Yeah, Garage Hobbit on Instagram, and I do my painting, and that's about it, really. I turn up on here, I get my brain melted, and then that's it. It's lovely.
And Dave, where can people find your own range of various old hammer and other things?
Yeah, I'm sporadically on Instagram. I'm trying to increase my usage, so I'm Keeper of the HDB on Instagram, or you can find me through the club that me and Dan are involved with in Cambridge is on Instagram as well, at 2D6 Lodge. And photos go up every Saturday of the games we've had on Friday night, which is always a good feed. My latest game that I played last Friday was a first edition 40k Rogue Trader scenario, so it's quite a good video up there. And Curtis from Ramshackle Games came down and joined in with us, which was awesome.
Excellent. And then, as always, you can find me at Narrative Wargamer on various platforms. So I am at Narrative Wargamer on Instagram. We also have a Facebook group, and of course, we have the YouTube channel. So if you are listening to this on your podcasting platform of choice, you can always go check out the YouTube channel, where we have a bunch of other videos as well as the podcast, including a recent book review of Crusade Pariah Nexus from a gaming perspective. And obviously all the gaming content that's there in the book for your actual games of 40k. as well as other various interesting videos, such as other lore quizzes from our back catalogue from the podcast. So if you've enjoyed this one and you want to listen to some of the other shenanigans that other characters in the lore have been up to in the recent years, then yeah, go listen to some of those as well, because they are equally just as insane as this. And yeah, as always, you can help support the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube. We also have an affiliate link below with Element Games. If you do want to pick up any hobby supplies, if you follow our link below, then that helps support the show, gives us a little kickback for any purchases that you make, and it doesn't cost you a thing. If you would also like to support the channel and help us grow things, we do also have a Patreon. We're aiming to get some more stuff up on there in the near future for our patrons, and as always, a big thank you to our patrons, because honestly, again, they've really helped us get to where we are today. They've helped maintain some of the running costs, because it's, believe it or not, it's not free or simple to host and run a podcast. There are many logistics and costs involved, so a big thank you to our patrons as always. And yeah, all that remains to be said is thank you all for listening. Thank you, you three, for coming and joining me tonight and getting involved. Thank you for bearing with the insanity that I've had to come up with for this particular quiz.
It's been good to be part of the show again. It's been a while. Thank you, Tony. Thanks, Narrative.
It's been fun.
As usual, a fantastic laugh, and I need to lie down
Yeah. And we'll do it all again in the future when Games Workshop gives us another book to pull apart. So until next time, guys, this has been the Narrative Wargamer Podcast, helping you to discover more ways to play 40 games.